Hi, everyone who just joined. I'm going to start presenting in just a moment. I'm waiting for a little bit more, giving people a little bit more of a chance to show up. But if you are here, thank you so much for being here. This is so exciting. I'm looking forward to going through my workshop again with you guys. And as I go, feel free to just comment any questions that you have, since we'll have time for a Q&A at the end. And I can just tune in and or come back here and answer all the questions that you have. If you just joined, I'm just giving people a little bit more time to tune in before I start my presentation. So if you have friends who you think could benefit from this or are interested in seeing the workshop and seeing my presentation, my experience about recruitment, shoot them a message, send them this link. Yeah, so I'll get started in a couple minutes. Yeah. If you're interested in asking questions, I think that you need to be a subscriber to comment. So, and it takes like 5 minutes before you're able to comment after subscribing. I believe that's my recollection. So if you want to get on that, if you want to ask a question and you're not yet subscribed, so hit that subscribe button below. And yeah, and I'll answer all of your questions at the end, or I'll try to. Yeah. Just giving people a little bit more time to tune in. I posted in the Quadball Reddit page that I'm involved in, so let's see if that prompts anyone to join. I'm probably going to start at like minute 4, I think, of streaming, just to give people enough time to check it out, to tune in. While we're waiting, if you want to comment what school you're from or what you're interested in learning about, or like who you're going to look at, where you're looking to recruit, I'd love to know, get a sense of like who's around. I can't see who has joined. I don't know any of your identities, but yeah, I'd love to gear the presentation to college if we have college here. But yeah, so I see that more people are joining. I'm going to give us a couple, like 1 more minute, just to see if anyone else wants to tune in for this workshop. Yeah, so we're just going to hang out until then for a second. I hope everyone is having a good weekend so far. If practice happened this weekend, I hope it went well. Yeah. Yeah, feel free to comment any questions you have throughout the presentation, and I will look at them at the end and answer as many questions as I can. Hopefully all of them, that shouldn't be a problem, but yeah. So comment any questions and we'll answer them at the end, at any point that you have them. Okay, great. So I'm going to get started. Amazing. All right. So my name is Cleo Brooks. I graduated from BU this past spring. And yeah, while I was there, I did a lot of recruitment through a lot of different phases of the team. And so I feel like I have a lot of experience recruiting people, and I'm excited to share my tips and tricks and my experience with you guys. I'm also very passionate about recruitment, and I love talking about the sport with people. So yeah, I hope that you do as well. The agenda for this, of course, I'm going to like add on to whatever we're on, but social media, table setup, explaining the sport, next steps, and resources. And then we'll have a Q&A at the end. Some questions I want to start with, because these are just really important questions to guide you through a season of Quadball and a season of running an Instagram or guiding a team. What is your team's goal? Who is your target audience? And how can you market to them? If you're not able to see the screen yet, I think there's a little bit of a buffer, but it should sync up. But if that continues to be a problem, just let me know. Okay, great. Where to recruit? Tabling. Tabling is I think just a really great way to recruit at club fairs, outside dining halls, etc. Flyers and posters, business cards, mailing lists, and QR codes, as well as Instagram and social media. Instagram and social media is kind of like a constant recruitment page for your team. It's a quick way to give people answers who are curious about the sport and curious about your team and what it would be like for them to join. So that is a really great place to invest your resources. And then, and flyers, posters, business cards, mailing lists, and QR codes all should link to your Instagram and social media. So it's a really good place to spend some time polishing up, just so that people can, when they get to your social media through whatever they have been given or seen on the street, like a flyer or a poster, that it's just a great way to recruit more people. And then I also recommend doing all of these things, as many things as possible. It's great to have one thing being reinforced by a couple other things. I had a player this past at BU this past year. He had a business card, but what made him show up was the poster he saw. It was a reminder and a kind of reaffirmation of like, this is a thing that you should go to. And it also shows that you are putting in the work. A lot of clubs don't put in work to get people to come out and show up. And if you put in that work and really try from every angle to get new people, it will come across to the people you are targeting. And I think that is really helpful. So on social media, I can do a whole presentation about this, but I'm going to keep it to one slide. Your online presence is your recruitment safety net, because in these really quick interactions that you have with people, especially at club fairs, you're not going to, sometimes all they will be able to walk away with is a business card. They won't hear out your pitch. They won't hear your, life story with Quadball, which is totally normal, but they'll have a business card, or they have your Instagram in their hands, or they'll be able to Google like BU Quadball or Emerson Quadball, and they will be able to find you guys on Instagram. So making sure that your Instagram reflects your team and reflects your values and reflects your goals is really, really important and helpful. So I also recommend pinning 1 to 2 posts that give curious students just a quick grasp and overview of the sport and of your team. So I have an example on our right of just a brief explanation of the roles. And this took me a long time to make, but I just pinned it for that season. I kept it up there. Since this information doesn't really like get old unless the rule book changes, you can just keep that one post pinned and let that sit there and tell people who you are immediately as they get to your page. And then try to create posts that kind of reinforce your goals and beliefs. You can also, like, when people find your Instagram who don't know the sport, all they're thinking is, what is this? And I've never heard of this. Is this Quidditch? Like, what am I looking at? And so pouring into these posts to make them legit and make your team look professional and polished helps that goal of legitimizing the sport and making it a place where people feel like they can be seen, have success, and compete. It's very, it will help your team a lot if you pour into the social media. If you're not sure where to start or how to put together successful graphics, feel free to reach out to people who have experience doing that, and they can help you and give you tips and how to put together graphics and how to make things look really good in Canva, since Canva is pretty easy to use. And also, if you are trying to replicate graphics to post on your page, reference teams that are professional, like reference the Dodgers, reference the Bruins, or any big team that is just wildly, popular and successful, and aim high. Push your graphics to be as high as that, and it'll fall short, but it'll fall pretty high. So I always say, like, it will also push you as a designer, and you'll get better at creating graphics if you're trying to replicate these professional teams and their imaging and stuff. And it's just fun. It makes your team and your page look really, really great. Yeah. So setting up your table is like a huge draw for the people who are walking by, and the people who you want to recruit. So I really think it's a great way to draw people in, and going that extra mile, um, with the details, with the tablecloth, with putting stuff out, with asking your teammates to show up, going those extra miles, like it really helps. It really helps fill out your table, making it look really attractive and interesting. Um, really have the goal to make your table the best table. And I think that you can. I think that we can definitely do that. So just make sure that try to make your table look like the best table at the club fair. And I think I believe that really attracts people to join and people to walk up. So put on your table, we put bracelets and stickers out on our table to just give away for free. And it was just a great way to get people to walk up to your table to get a sticker, to get a bracelet. Freshmen love free things. And some people just go to the club fair to get free things. So put out as many free things as you can on your table. One computer playing a hype video, and another computer taking emails on a Google Sheet. And the Google Sheet can also be shared with your teammates so that anyone, anywhere can get down an email in case that computer dies and your backup computer also dies or something like that. Take people's emails as much as possible. And then business cards is a really, really important thing to have on your table. It is, I will talk about them more throughout this presentation, but BU ordered typically 250 to 300 cards and would pretty consistently run out. And then if you have leftovers, just like walking them around and handing them to random people, like there's just no harm in doing that. We reordered them every club fair, and on them we included the dates of the tryouts. But pretty much all the information anyone needed to get to a tryout would be on that business card. That would be on one side, and on the other side would be a QR code. And the QR code would get the person looking at it to an Instagram. Like I said, these interactions aren't going to be very long. And sometimes all you're going to be able to get them is a business card. And if your business card gives them everything they need to get to a tryout and to get to your Instagram, you've done a great job. So I would definitely recommend getting business cards, and enough business cards for everyone at your table to have them. A speaker with music is a really fun way to sort of fill out your space and to make it a really attractive and fun place to be. Like I said, the best table at the club fair. And then a tablecloth. I know it's a small thing, and if your school doesn't provide tablecloths, or if you were unofficial like BU was, and you had to get a table and a tablecloth, the tablecloth makes a small difference, but it fills it out. It makes it look complete. It makes it look professional. It's a really great way to flesh out your table and look really nice and clean. I also, we got a team flag for BU, and Breakmark sells these. And if you haven't worked with Breakmark before and you are interested in working with them for the first time, you'll get a free team flag, which I think is a really great deal. And then the team flag it's just such a great symbol of belonging, and anyone at the club fair wants to like feel like they belong and could belong to a team and could belong to a group of people. So I think a flag is just a really fun thing to have. And then bringing it to games is, of course, also very fun. Hanging it on your wall if you're on e-board or something. I think it's just a really fun thing to have as a team. Some equipment. I would say avoid having a broom or a snitch at your table, not because they're bad or hard, like not a negative part of the sport, just because it's hard to talk about in a short period of time. And you want people to walk away with certain things sticking in their minds, and brooms and snitches aren't the things that you want them to walk away meditating on. So I would say what would be great to have is a hoop and some dodgeballs and a quad ball. The hoop can be set up next to your table, or in the area, and someone can be walking around with a quad ball, inviting people to take shots and encouraging them to have success, just like at that club fair. And it was just a really fun way to get to know people and to draw people into their table. And people can take a shot, and then if they miss, you go, no, it's okay, let's try again, let's have another chance, and then give them the quad ball again, and then see them take another shot. And if it even like doinks in barely, you can like hype them up and be like, you got a great arm, like what, where have you been all day? And then get them over to your table, get them a business card, get their email, exchange names, all of that. So a hoop is a really fun thing to have at your table. Also, dodgeballs are really fun to bring around. And we had a friend at BU, and he was really good at holding the dodgeballs, 2 dodgeballs, walking around and going, I challenge you to a beater battle. And he would hand them a dodgeball. And he discovered that people's reactions were just to grab whatever was being handed to them. And so they would grab this dodgeball, and then suddenly there was a beater battle happening. And the same thing of hyping them up and encouraging them to like try again and bringing them over to your table. Just a really fun way to sort of like make your table as fun as possible, and a really fun place to be. And a typed email list. I mentioned the email list before. Please make it typed. If it's handwritten, you can't read people's handwriting, and then you will lose those emails. So a typed email list on a shared Google Sheet that anyone on the team can pull out their phone and access, I think is a really great way to invite people, to get people's email down. And it's also the same with a business card. If you're not able to like get them to hear the long spiel, but you have their email, you can follow up with them. Following up is a really important thing in recruitment. So we talked about setting up your table. Setting up your table is offense. Setting up your team is another way. This is my method of how to draw people into your table and how to make a connection with them. Because people will just walk by your table. That is their like instinct, and pretty much if they don't want a sticker or a bracelet, they're just going to walk by. So the way that we set up our offense at BU is we had a midline right here in the line of traffic. People would stand in the midline to catch passerbys and talk to them one-on-one. I would often walk with people as they walked by. So they can keep walking. I'm going to walk with them, and we're going to have a conversation. And that's how I would do it in the midline. And then the keeper zone is sort of right in front of the table. And this keeper zone line, people would stand just in front of the table and have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation, because the midline can bring people to the keeper zone, who can bring people to the hoop line. The hoop line is behind the table. And the hoop line, and it's convenient if you have a hoop next to your table, because then it's literally the hoop line. But the hoop line, if you're more introverted, this is a really good place to be, because it's a lot calmer of an interaction. It's not so, you don't have to start the interaction. These people have already been briefed for you, and you hand out stickers and bracelets, get people's email, get them a business card if they don't have one already. And also, if you have pictures of the sport or hype reels at your table, you can also show them that and kind of talk them through a little bit more about the sport. Yeah. So the idea being the midline is talking to as many people as possible, bringing people over to the keeper zone, who brings them over to the hoop line, so that the midline can keep talking to people. And it's a great way to maximize how many people you get to talk to. Everyone should wear some kind of merch or their uniform. It shows a community. It shows that you have cool things that people can buy and kind of wear and represent. Everyone should have a business card to hand out to people, and then that has a QR code on it. And then everyone is trying their best to be an extrovert. I know it's hard. If you're an introvert, you don't have to be at the midline. You can be at the hoop line. If you're an extrovert, please be at the midline. Midline and keeper zone are great ways to socialize and just start conversations. And yeah, so the other area that I listed but didn't draw on here is SOP. SOP is 1 to 2 people running around doing skills activities with people, sort of like carnival style. So we had one person sort of in the midline with a quad ball shouting at the crowd, who wants to take a shot? Come here and show us how good an arm you have. I call it SOP because it's just chaotic. And it's just really fun, and it makes your table seem like a really fun place to be. Yeah, so walking around the quad ball, walking around dodgeballs, that is SOP, and it is just another way to get people out of their shell and get people interested in what you're doing. I know if I took a beater battle my freshman year, I would have been in love immediately. So yeah, so that is how I recommend setting up your table and how many people you have. I also would say get as many teammates to the club fair and to your table as possible, um, just so that you can get these zones out and get as many people talking to as many people as possible. If you have to like set up a way to do it in shifts, do that, but as many people as you can from your team, get them to your table. Building a connection quickly. So we talked about setting up the table. Now let's talk about how to talk to people and how to make these connections. Because when you're in the midline, you need to build a connection quickly, same as every other zone of your table. So first year students are thinking, who are largely at the club fair, will I have friends? Will they like me? Will I have a group of people who I can hang out with, get dinner with, have a good time with? And all of those people you talk to, make sure that they feel wanted, they feel like they could fit into your group. And there are ways to do this that are kind of subtle, like a warm smile and eye contact, and just talking to them in a very friendly way is really important. Smiling and eye contact, I think, are I know it sounds obvious to some people, but it's a really, really important way to build a connection quickly with someone, is just smiling and eye contact. And I would also say assume that they want to talk to you. I will talk about this in a moment, but a lot of people will try to walk by, and if you tell them, no, I know you want, like, we need to have this connection because this is the best sport I've ever played, and I want to share it with you. So making them feel chosen in that sense is just a really nice way to talk to people who are walking by at a club fair. Another way to draw them in is through a compliment, an observation, or a question. So if you say, hey, I like your shoes, or start a conversation like that, a back and forth that's not just yelling, do you want to hear about Quadball, is a really great way to draw people in. And it's different from a lot of what the other clubs at the fair are doing. So asking them a question, have you heard about Quadball? Have you played sports before? Kind of prompting them to have this back and forth with you before you've asked, do you want to come over to our table and talk to us? That is a really great way to invite someone into your team and your area and your table. I also think a change of tone is really effective in talking to people in passing. If you're in the midline and you're talking to these these students who are walking around through the club fair, and all they're being met with at the other tables are people yelling really like at a high level and saying, join our club, like let's look at our signs and try to, like, it's really up here. If you are able to kind of step in closer to them, lower your tone, make eye contact, and say, hey, I think you would really like this sport. Have you heard about it before? That change in tone will switch something in their brain, and the interaction will just become a lot more sticky and a lot more memorable for them. And it's because it's different from what they are being confronted by in the rest of the fair. So just changing your tone, I think, is a really effective way to make the interaction a little bit more sticky. Just affirming, like, I'm like you, like trying to relate to them as much as possible, trying to build a connection with them in this quick time frame you have. Looking for commonalities and connecting them with other people on your team as well as yourself. Making a personal connection is really, really great. Building a connection in a sense of group, in a sense of you could be here too and you could hang out with us too, is fantastic. And that is what will bring people back to the team and to try it out. So yeah, I think this is just an overview about building a connection quickly, and then beginning an interaction. Avoid questions like, do you want to, and can I tell you? Do you want to hear about Quadball? Can I tell you about our team? No. People will say no to things because it's easy. It's really easy to say, no, I'm good, and keep walking. So assume that they want to, assume that their life will be better for listening to you ramble about quadball, and invite them in by saying, do you know what quadball is? Let me tell you about my favorite sport. Now, if you ask them, do you want to? Can I tell you? They're going to say no and walk away. So it's a much more productive um, interaction if you start it with, do you know what quadball is? And if the answer is yes, fantastic. If the answer is no, fantastic. You're looking for whatever they have to say. If the answer is yes, then it's a crazy conversation that you get to have with someone, which is really fun. If the answer is no, then you can go into your explanation about the sport and invite them in more and more. So before you go into any of these club fairs, know your nuggets and make sure your team knows their nuggets. The nuggets are these little bits of information that they can take with them and hold on to, the stickiest thing that you want them to walk away with, because these interactions are just not going to be very long. 5 minutes is going to be a very long interaction for what a club fair is and how it's set up. So there should be at least 3 to 5 nuggets that you want people to walk away with. Some of the nuggets that I used when I was recruiting was D1, co-ed, full contact. Those are the things that were the first words that I basically said to people after I said, do you know what quadball is? It's a D1 co-ed full contact sport. These are the things I wanted them to stick. I would say that up front and I would repeat it throughout the conversation because I was focusing on recruiting competitive people who were looking to compete and who wanted to have an athletic experience with the club. So those are my favorite nuggets to say. And I also love to say compete nationally, and tryouts are tomorrow. So these are the things that we really want people to walk away with, that we want to have be sticky little nuggets for them to remember. And then in return, you want their email, their name, and one less business card in your hand. If nothing else, a business card is a great way to recruit someone. They have a QR code, they have the Instagram handle, they can get to where they need to go through that business card. So how to give a brief explanation. After you've said, do you know what quadball is? And they say no, then you can go into your sort of pitch. And I know it's a really complicated sport, and kind of simmering it down is really helpful for these short-term interactions. So quadball is a full contact co-ed sport that combines elements of dodgeball, basketball, and rugby. Our team is D1 or D2, practices weekly, and competes nationally every year, and I said as well as within our conference. And then I would sort of list any school I could possibly think of that we compete with. So I would say Harvard, I would say UCLA, Texas State. I would just draw any team I could possibly think of and name it in case they were looking for the opportunity to socialize with students from other schools as well as within BU, because that's a big draw too. And then I would talk about our goals, just to give them context about who we are and what we want to achieve this, upcoming season. So I would say last year we placed third. This year we're looking to place first, and I think our chances are pretty good. And then I would immediately follow up with a question. I will go into the questions in the next couple of slides. With goals, last year we placed third. This year we're looking to place first. Bend the truth. That is totally okay to just bend the truth a little bit. When BU placed third in the D2 bracket at nationals, I would just say we placed third nationally. That is totally okay. We're not trying to do anything wrong. We're just trying to get more people to play the sport, and that is a-okay to do. So, and then if someone on your team's on the DA, just say that they're on the national team. Also okay. I would also say avoid brooms and snitch. It's okay to talk about them, but they're just longer points of conversation that requires a little bit more of a sell, and that is okay, but just try to avoid it. Just try to avoid it in these brief explanations and move on. So how to give a further explanation. A lot of people will have a sports background and want to know more about the sport and want to know how it works. I've gotten a lot of people who come from another sport at the club fair who say, but how does it work? How I want to know a little bit more. And when that happens, my slightly more in-depth pitch would be, there are 4 players on each team who compete to score through the opponent's hoop using a ball called the Quadball. Additionally, there are 2 players on each team who use dodgeballs to defend their own hoops and carve paths into the other team's defense for their ball carriers to score. Each hoop is worth 10 points, and at 20 minutes, set score is decided. That's kind of all you need to know to tie up all of the more in-depth conversation points about the sport. I also think that the keeper is just another add-on that you don't really need to get into because it's not very central to these conversations, and it's just a little bit longer of a conversation. If you have time, totally do it, but I also kind of avoid that just for time's sake. Also, this is going to be hard to explain. It's complicated, and sometimes, especially towards the end of the club fair, and someone asked me, like, wait, what are you talking about? How does it really work? I would get overwhelmed sometimes. And it's okay to take a breath and just explain slowly. And also, again, that change of tone will make the conversation a little bit more sticky for that person, a little bit more memorable. And it'll let you explain your thoughts clearly. So please take a breath and just explain it clearly. No harm in slowing down. Again, avoid the brooms and the snitch. Ask questions. So I said just a moment ago, after you're done with your spiel and after you're finished with your whole pitch, even if it's long or short, follow up with a question. Don't give them space to excuse themselves and say, like, that sounds really cool, I'm going to go. Or for them trying to panic on thinking what they should say next. Just ask them a question. Just do that job for them. Say a follow-up question. My favorite follow-up question is, have you played any sports before? Because one thing that's really great about this sport is that if you haven't played sports before, that's totally okay. We'll teach you. And if you have, that's fantastic. That is probably transferable to what we're going to play. So, so acting like whatever they say as a response to have you played any sports before is like the response that you were hoping for. So if no, oh my gosh, great, me neither, or my friend hadn't either, and now like we're having the best time of our lives on this really fun team. If yes, oh my gosh, that's so interesting, which ones? And then they say baseball, and you're like, oh wow, you must have really good hand-eye coordination. That's really applicable to how we play this sport, and then start again with like fleshing out your team and your explanation and how you play the sport. So yeah, I also like to just ask normal questions just to build up that conversation, that connection with them. With talking to people in general, if you ask them questions, like, people really like to talk about themselves. So, and that's not a bad thing. That's normal. So just building up that connection with someone and asking them a lot of questions and learning their name and learning these things, you can also look for commonalities with that other person and places to connect with them, or connect them with a friend on your team. So yeah, they will feel closer to you if you ask them more questions. Like where are you from? What year are you? Where are you living? Just student life questions I think are really great as well. And just to keep the conversation going. I also use this sometimes when I get overwhelmed at the end of a recruitment session to give myself more time to kind of think about what I'm going to talk about next, or how I'm going to bring them over to my table quicker. So I think that is really great. And again, introducing them to other players, and building that sense of group and that sense of you could be here too, and you can hang out with us too, and we have a lot in common. That is also like a really great way to build that sense of connection and community and get them to come back for tryouts. So code broom/snitch. Say that someone brings this up, which is so normal and happens all the time. Is this Quidditch? Do you guys have brooms? What about the snitch? These are really normal questions. I'm sure we've all heard of them. There are ways to talk about this and to move on without sort of, deterring the athletes or deterring the people who want to compete. So is this Quidditch? This is the athletic adaptation of Quidditch. Then you move on. We compete nationally every year. Last year we placed third. This year we're looking to place first. Have you ever played sports before? And following up with a question like that. Just keeping the conversation going. Or we have more stuff at our table. I can show you a little bit more about how a live game looks. Or you can like grab a free sticker or bracelet and get them closer to your table. Do you guys use brooms? So now you're in the broom zone. That's totally okay. The way that we pitch the brooms is brooms are an element of the game that serves as the handicap of the sport. Just like how in basketball you can't travel with the ball, and in soccer you can't use your hands to throw the ball. They also serve, and then sometimes I like to go into a little bit more, especially if the person seems sports-minded and they're interested in learning a bit more. They also serve as a marker of who is in play and who is out of play. Since I play the dodgeball position, players will show that they are no longer in a passing option by coming off broom once they get hit by a dodgeball. Have you ever played sports before? Move on with a question like that. Yeah, and then what about the snitch? So also totally okay to talk about if it comes up, but try to avoid it. In our sport, the snitch is an impartial ref who is only playing in play after the 20-minute mark and is a game mechanic similar to flag football. Pulling the flag is worth 35 points, so even if your team is down by a lot, you always have a chance to make a comeback and take the game, and then you move on. It's not bad to run into these topics, even though we're trying to avoid them. We just want to talk about them in a athletic way that is true to our sport and true to how we treat these elements. So this is sort of my take on that. Yeah, but again, try to avoid it. So before they leave, get them a business card in their hand with a QR code that goes to your Instagram and all the information they need to get to your tryouts or try it out. Get their email on your computer so that you can follow up and shoot them a reminder or many reminders about upcoming events or tryouts that you have. You can also get your guys' Instagram on their phone. Sometimes if I was talking to someone and I had run out of business cards, I would say, oh, I can tell you more. We actually have an Instagram. Do you have your phone on you? And if they have their phone on them, they can bring up your Instagram, your team's Instagram. And now they have that on their phone. And you can say, yeah, this is our team. This is sort of how the season looks. This is a player spotlight that we did last year. This is when we went to nationals and competed and placed third. Yeah, use your name and your guys' connection with them as you say goodbye. So using their name to them, that's just a really special thing. It's kind of a social trick that people can do with other humans, just to feel like a sense of familiarity with someone that they had just met. So learning their name and using it to them as you say goodbye, making them feel like you're going to look for them at tryouts tomorrow. So yeah, okay, I'll see you tomorrow, Max. Like just look for them and make them feel like you are going to be looking for them tomorrow, and they're not obligated, but there's a little bit of pressure for them to show up to retain this friendship that they just made with you. Make them show up make them feel like they want to show up for their new friend that they just made. Yeah, so those are the important things to do as they leave, before they leave. Business card, email, Instagram, I think is the three big nuggets of that interaction. So as far as next steps go, I would say email them as soon as you can after the club fair, saying, hey, it was so nice to meet everyone today, meet you today. We hope to see you tomorrow at tryouts, bring cleats and sneakers. And then below that, you can list the upcoming events that you have later that week. I would also suggest having a social event that first week, that same week, welcome week, some people call it, and invite people to that and advertise that in every email that you send, and the upcoming events in every email that you send. Yeah, and practices and tryouts really should be the next day and the next couple of days while the club and the sport is fresh in their mind from recruitment. So try to kind of condense that schedule as much as you can, just so that you can keep people engaged for as long as you can. I also, after these emails for a while, we went in our sign off, we attached our logo, and we also attached links to cool Quadball games. That doesn't have to be your Quadball game. that can be, I think in ours, we attached the UTSA Harvard game from 2022, just to invite people to look at sort of what a really good game looks like that to be played. And then at practice, ask your returners to mingle and not clump. Something we did at BU was one person was kind of assigned to a buddy, and those people would pair up, or like a buddy who was trying out, and then that person was supposed to kind of build a personal connection with whoever was trying out, and so that new person will have an actual friend to reach out to and talk to for questions or for just communication with the team. It's really important to do that. It also prevents your team from kind of like not being a clique, but like being a clump that feels hard to sort of insert yourself into. Please, as much as you can, try to alleviate the pressure of fitting in from these people who are trying out, and alleviate the pressure of where am I going to sit? Who am I going to talk to? We can meet them there. We can do that for them for sure. And then another thing that I really believe in is after practice, get food, and get food as a team. Get food with your group of your team, and at practice, at the food after practice, mingle again. Don't clump. Sit next to someone you haven't sat with before, and just keep chatting, keep connecting, and connecting them to other people on your team, and just build that sense of group. BU got food after practice religiously all through the season. We always had practice, then we always got food. I really loved that. It was really great to have that chance to sort of connect with my teammates after a hard practice and after getting my butt kicked. It was just nice to be in a different setting and connect with people on a personal level. So I think it also is just great for team environment. Yeah. So main takeaways from this: connect fast and choose them. Make sure that they feel chosen, they feel wanted, they feel like you want them on your team. Know your nuggets and ask them questions. So know what you want them to walk away knowing. D1, co-ed, full contact, whatever it may be. And ask them questions and build that personal connection. And then get in touch and act fast. So get in touch, send them emails, give them a way to communicate with you, and then have the next events in the next couple of days, pretty soon after your recruitment fair. Here are some reference materials. USQ has resources for recruitment for both club and college on their website. And then in that package, they also have a list of hype videos that you can play at your table and point to as an example of how the sport looks and make the sport just look really cool. So these are a really great point of reference for that. Yeah. And then, so that is my presentation for you guys today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment and I will answer them now, since we are reaching the Q&A portion. Thank you, Molly French. Okay, let's see. What would I say is the most important info to put on the business cards, posters around campus, and the most recent social media posts, assuming that's what they'll see first? So most recent social media post is going to be the pinned post. So I really like to pin the post that says, this is what our sport is, and this is what we do, and these are the roles, and so that's what I pinned. And then at this point it will be like the e-board post, but I also pinned a sort of shoot your shot, come find us a splash, and that is also something there. But I think what's most important, if you're trying to recruit athletes, then have athletic posts. If you're trying to recruit, it just reflect who you are targeting in those posts. I think that is really important. Business cards, make sure that the business cards have all the information that the person needs to get to a tribe out, and all the information they need to get to the first event that you are having that year. First couple events. So the date, time, location, and then a QR code and Instagram handle. when you're generating your QR codes, also make sure that they don't expire. Just go to Adobe Express, generate a free one, download that. It won't expire. Put it on a business card. You're good. What are some good recruiting techniques for after the club fairs have already happened? Set up a table on the curb, set up a table outside of a gym, and keep posting on Instagram, post flyers around campus. I think just if you are interested in continuing recruitment after the recruitment fairs, always just have a dodgeball, have an open sort of public dodgeball game that people can come to and just have fun at and connect with more people. I think that is really good. And then how do you change your approach if you're talking to athletes versus not athletic athletes? Do you emphasize D1 full contact part less? Yeah, you would emphasize more the social aspect of the sport if you're talking to people who don't seem like they're interested in playing a sport, but you think that there's potential. I don't know what the situation might be, but I would say emphasize more. I met my roommates through this sport. I met my best friends through this sport. This gave me a really great, vibrant social life. That's what I would do if I was recruiting. Someone who isn't going to be a great athlete or doesn't seem like they are looking for intense sport to join, but still I'm talking to them at a club fair. So that's how I would go about that. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for being here. I'm still going to stick around for any questions that people might have. So feel free to comment anything that you are curious about or are wondering about. Yeah, so how would you recruit your freshman self? I think my freshman self was bound to play this sport. So it took like a light breeze and I was there. But my freshman self, it's a different situation a little bit because then it was Quidditch. And so I really wanted to hear that the team's beliefs and values did not align with J.K. Rowling's, and this wasn't like a fan club. So I would recruit my freshman self by emphasizing the social life. I think that's what I was really looking for. And then just the general qualities of the sport. So fast-paced and dynamic. Dodgeball mixed with basketball and rugby would have definitely sold me. Yeah. So that's how I would recruit my freshman self. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to comment, and yeah, I'll touch on them and give my 2 cents about them. Yeah. I think another thing to remember is if you get into the Quidditch area of topic of conversation, saying this is the athletic adaptation of Quidditch, and then moving on to techniques and sort of gameplay and elements like that, I think is really important. Yeah, because it is the athletic adaptation of Quidditch. I think that's really cool. I also like to talk to people and expect them to kind of invite them to think that this is really cool with me. Like I know it's really cool, so I'm inviting you to treat it that way, and I am like setting the tone and setting the expectation of like, this is really awesome. This is a professional sport, even we all know what it is, but inviting them to enjoy it as much as I do, I think is a really effective way to share the sport and share your love of it. And I also would emphasize get as many of your teammates to recruitment as possible, and just fill out your table and make it look like your team is as big as it is, and be persistent and be assertive and confident with your conversations with people. Yeah. If someone seems completely uninterested, should you just let them go? Or is it worth it trying to convince them? I think it's always worth it, unless it's going to be like a long conversation of you chasing them down. If someone seems completely uninterested, I think everyone should be interested. I think they should be interested. This is really interesting. So I really like to walk up to someone, change my tone, make eye contact with them, smile, and say, "Hey, have you heard about this? Well, let me tell you about it. Have you played sports before?" Once you get through the question part of it, then they're gonna be a little bit locked in, because they're gonna be like, "Oh, wait, they're asking me about myself. They're not just like rambling on at me." And if someone's really uninterested, then I sort of like tone down my spiel. My spiel gets a lot shorter if someone is like really on their way out. I'm sort of like, "Have you heard about this? It's a full contact D1 sport that combines elements of like rugby, soccer, basketball, dodgeball. Have you played sports before?" Um, yeah, I think I skip over our team's goals thing if they're really like on their way out. Yeah. So how do I deal with it's not a real sport people? I'm gonna be honest. I don't run into those people at recruitment fairs. The it's not a real sport people don't really come up to me. Also, it is a real sport. I really play it. I'm really competitive. I'm really playing this sport. So I kind of just face that with denial, and I say it is a real sport. It's just as real as club soccer, club basketball, whatever people play. Um, it is a real sport, and so I invite those people to into my reality of this sport. Is how I approach that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to end the stream. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. I really love talking about all of this. So thank you for sticking around. And listening to me. It's been a lot of fun. Hope you guys all have a great start to your seasons, and I look forward to seeing you at our next tournaments, next nationals, regionals. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks so much.